Hi, good morning everyone. Monday, happy Easter. My name is Angela. I'm an animal care specialist here at the San Antonio Zoo. And today we're going to have a little festive fun with some of our animal ambassadors. I work in the Mammals 1 department, and that encompasses a lot of things, and it's mostly mammals, but it's also part of our ambassador team. So we have birds, reptiles. I'm sure you've seen a couple of our Facebook lives. We have porcupines, all kinds of things like that. But this morning, we're going to have a little Easter fun with some of our 3-banded armadillos, and we've got some enrichment out for them, some little like toys and things, some food that they're going to enjoy. And we're just going to be going over the 3 that we have out right now. I'm also joined by my 2 fellow animal care specialists, Kara and Sam, and they are going to be respectively taking care of each one of our armadillos as they run around and play with their toys and their fun Easter enrichment. There's some mealworms inside those eggs and in the grass, so they're going to be digging around and doing what they do best, looking for food. As I mentioned before, this is one of our morning Facebook Lives, so make sure and join us later in the afternoon at 2 o'clock for another holiday Easter egg hunt, possibly. And if you have any questions right now, go ahead and put them in the comment section. I will do my best to answer them, and we can talk about all the different things we have going on right now. So just to get started, these are our 3-banded armadillos. We have 5 in our animal ambassador collection, and these guys are one of the only species of armadillo that can roll up into a ball. There's actually another species, a much smaller species. It's the fairy armadillo, and they're the only other species that can roll up into a ball. These armadillos are normally going to be found in South America, so you will not see these in your backyard or crossing the road. A lot of people see the 9-banders that we have here in Texas, and they're like, yeah, they're in my backyard digging up holes, eating all the bugs and everything in my log pile and everything like that. These guys are not native to Texas. So the ones that you see here are the 9-banded armadillo, and they're much larger, much darker, and they cannot roll into a ball. So they get their name from those 3 bands along the back. Let's see if we can't get a good shot. This one here is Wilson, and he is a fan favorite. Drop a like or a comment down in the bottom if you know Wilson and you love him. But he loves being out, hanging out with everyone, and he just likes to run and find all kinds of things he can get into. But here, maybe we can get a closer shot of one of our more calm girls. This one is, let me take a look here. This is Addie, and if you can see along the back, she has 3 bands, and that's where she gets her name, but those obviously also help her roll into a ball. So if you can count along the back of her shell right here, you can see the 3 bands. There's 1, 2, 3. And when she curls up, those expand to allow her to fit her head and her tail together and provide protection. So that shell on the outside is made of keratin, the same thing that actually snake skin scales are made of, and the same that is found in your fingernails and hair. And it's just a really, really hard fingernail all around her shell. But underneath, it's a very, very soft exposed skin. And so rolling up into a ball helps them protect that area. Anytime they feel threatened, or if there's some danger around, or if they sense a predator, what they can do is they can roll up into a ball, and their head fits into the side of their tail, and it tucks in really, really tight, and they can stay like that as long as they need, and they will stay like that to protect that soft underbelly. And then once they feel the danger has passed, they'll uncurl and they'll go right back to their business. So Addie's being really awesome right now. She's just hanging out in her Easter basket and eating some mealworms, enjoying the nice weather outside. And if you have any questions, just let me know.
What do these guys eat?
That's a really great question. So the question is, what do 3-banded armadillos eat? So our armadillos are on a special diet. They are on a pellet called insectivore. And basically what that is just more ground up bug parts with vitamins, nutrients, all the necessary minerals that they would need for their regular dietary requirements. But they also get bugs, as I mentioned before. Right now we have mealworms scattered everywhere, see, in the eggs and in the grass, and they get other kinds of bugs as well. They get waxworms, which are a little fattier. They get crickets, and they also get produce. So they get chopped and minced apples and lettuce and peas and carrots. They get a really, really good balanced diet, and they love that. They eat it really, really well. Outside of a zoological setting, they're mostly going to be found digging up bugs, so they can eat all kinds of things: ants, beetles, like I said, crickets, worms, all kinds of things, termites, anything that they can get into. They actually have some really strong nails in the front that they use to dig up, and that's how they get most of their food. Laura would like to know if they are marsupials. No, you know, we actually get a lot of interesting questions about them because they don't really look like they fall in any other category. But these guys are mammals. The shell in their little skull, carapace, all of that kind of throws them off. But they are mammals, so they're warm-blooded, they give live birth. All those things that make us mammals is what makes an armadillo a mammal as well. Now, being part of the ambassador collection, we bring our armadillos out at all points of the day, so they're completely used to being out on presentations. We bring them out on events, we bring them out for playtime, all kinds of things. So every one of them has a different personality. Off camera, our very brave male is running around and he's enjoying himself way over there. If we see if we can't pan over there and get a shot of him. And that's just his personality. Just like everyone else, he's got his own individual way of feeling and thinking, and that's how Wilson acts on a day-to-day basis. But Addie's a little bit more chill, which was the one we were looking at just before. And then we have Greta a little bit further to the right, who's kind of an in-between. She likes to explore and really get into her enrichment, but also she's in no rush. Perfect example right here. She's in no rush to get anywhere anytime fast.
Angela, we've got a couple questions for you.
Sure, all right, I'm ready for those questions.
What kind of enrichment do they get?
That's a fantastic question. So we have to enrich these guys on a daily basis. So enrichment-wise, we can give them a whole multitude of things. Just what you're looking at right now is one form of enrichment. So hiding their food, putting their food in almost like a puzzle feeder to have them have to break it open and figure out how to eat it. We can do novel water displays. They can get scents, they can get ice, all kinds of things. We move their furniture around so that their habitat is not normal and it's different every day. So it's dynamic and it keeps them guessing. All kinds of things. We really enjoy giving them puzzle feeders. It's one of our favorite things to do here at the San Antonio Zoo. And that can be as simple as a box with pieces of that box cut out, and then their food's in there. So they have to flip it around and knock it over and move it in order to get to their diet. Great question.
Jessica would like to know if they have to worry about any predators in the wild.
So three-banded armadillos, being so small and cute, you can imagine, do have to worry about predators outside of a zoological setting. Obviously, they're very well taken care of. I'm going to pause on that question real quick just so you guys can see. We grabbed Greta real quick just so you can see how she can fold right in half and almost fit into a ball. These guys are used to being handled, so it's very normal for them to be moved and changed around a little bit, so this isn't stressful or anything like that. But you can see how her head fits against her tail into a perfect ball, and that allows them to stay like that and be completely protected. You can see their ears get tucked in right here around their head. Even her nails and everything will go right in there. Let me just show you. And that'll keep her completely protected for as long as she needs to be. It's a really, really cool adaptation. But going back to that original question, predators, pretty much anything that's bigger than an armadillo, a three-banded armadillo, and is hungry can be a predator. So large cats, large dogs, even birds that are brave and interested enough can definitely pick up these guys. And that's just because normally they're going to be digging around out pretty exposed, and so if an animal or a predator were to come along, their only line of defense would be to curl up into a ball. And it's all about how determined that predator is. If they're willing to stick it out and hang out and try and open up that ball that the three-bandeds turn into, then they might get an easy meal. However, they're not easily prey items. So the question is, do armadillos shed? Not in the sense that we think. They do, once they're born, they do grow. So those keratin scales kind of increase in size until they get to be fully grown. I did not mention that earlier. These armadillos are fully grown. They will not be any larger than this, and this is typical for their species. But they don't shed the way we think of it, like a snake or a lizard shedding. It's pretty much just growing into their scales and fitting into that carapace that they are born with.
How long can they live?
So the question is, how long can three-banded armadillos live? We actually don't have an exact number on that. These three that we have out are varying in range. I believe Greta is in her upper teens, almost 20. Yeah, Addie is about the same. Wilson's a little younger, so we could probably estimate maybe between 15 to 20 years old. However, in a zoological setting, you can easily add many years onto that because, as adorable as they are, they don't have to worry about where their food's coming from, if their water is going to dry up, any predators, and anything else that might be threatening them, such as deforestation and things like that. So they can live a really, really long time in a zoological setting under keeper care.
Does the hair that they have serve a purpose?
So the question is if those little hairs underneath them serve a purpose. Besides being part of, your typical mammal setup, they do serve a purpose. And so what it is when they're running around, it helps keep dirt and all the things that they're digging in out away from their belly. So it kind of keeps them clean. So it's pretty much like guard hairs. And so what it does is while they're digging around, it keeps all of it kind of on the outside and it doesn't get into that area underneath. How many babies do they have at a time? Does anyone want to take a guess? What do you think, Kara? 2 to 3? While it is not uncommon for them to possibly have twins, even triplets, because of their size, more often than not, they are going to have one offspring. And that offspring is about the size of a golf ball. So it's actually pretty interesting to see. Bye! If you get a chance, Google three-banded armadillo babies, but they are very, very tiny. But they usually are only going to have one offspring for every time that they give birth. We're going to check in on Addie here, see how she's doing. There we go.
Silas would like to know when they sleep.
All right, so that's a great question. So as I mentioned before, these are our animal ambassadors. So they pretty much sleep throughout the day and overnight. Normally, they are going to be sleeping during the day. They're a little bit more nocturnal. It's not uncommon, however, for them to be up in the early mornings and the late evening hours to look for their food. But being ambassador animals, they are used to being on call, as you would say, at any given point because we bring them out for presentations and fun little Facebook Lives like this. So they sleep sporadically throughout the day, and then for most of it, they're going to get a majority of their sleep overnight.
So great time to talk about that one over there.
Sure.
I would like to know which one has the most personality and what's something funny that they do.
All right, so let's go zoom in and on our fan favorite, as I mentioned before. So this is Wilson, and right now he is doing a little dance with his kennel, and that's just his little transport that we use to move him from one place to another. And I would definitely say, and I would bet you everyone would agree, he has the most personality. Now, he is a lot bigger than Addie and Greta, so of course that's going to come with age. However, he loves his keepers, and he is just all about the scratches. He loves to be held, he loves to be scratched, he loves to be touched and played with, interacted. So Wilson is definitely the one everyone likes to bring out if they're trying to show how interesting these guys can be. And like I said before, he's got energy. He's just got going, and he just wants to explore everything and see all the things that are out there. Mm-hmm. Yes, and part of that energy, he just likes to do things, right? So just like your dog that just kind of hops up and wants to just run around and just show you like, hey Ma, look at me. That's exactly what Wilson's doing. He's just burning some of that extra energy he has, and he loves it.
He's got the zoomies.
He has the zoomies, that is correct. No, so Wilson was not born here at the San Antonio Zoo. He was born at a different
Busch Gardens, Tampa.
institution, which I'm being told was Busch Gardens, Tampa, and he was hand raised.
In 2012.
He was born in 2012 and he was hand raised. So he is completely used to all the different things that you see going on right now. And really, he's just found that his transport carrier is the best thing ever. So all he's doing is just searching around it and looking to see all the stuff that there is around him.
Jacob would like to know if they are fully grown.
Good question, Jacob. Yes, these three-banded armadillos are fully grown. As I mentioned earlier, a young, newborn three-banded armadillo is going to be about the size of a golf ball. Maybe even about the size of those eggs that you see next to Addie right now. But she, however, and all the rest of the three bandeds we have out right now, they are fully grown, so they will not get any bigger than that. On the scale of species for armadillos, they're on the very smaller side, but if you would not believe it, there are actually much smaller armadillos than the three bandeds. There's a fairy armadillo I mentioned earlier that fits in the palm of your hand, fully grown. There are over 20 species of armadillo. As I mentioned before, Texas is the only North American, well, not Texas. There's only one North American species of armadillo. We're very familiar with it because they're everywhere in Texas. But there's over 20 species of armadillo, but most are going to be found in South America and Central America.
Several people are asking if they would make good pets.
That is a great question. So we actually get that question here at the San Antonio Zoo a lot, and the question is if these animals would make great pets. We do not condone having these animals as great pets. They're not something that's easy to keep up with. A lot of people think just because we interact with them as closely as we do and we know them so well that it must be relatively simple to take care of them. But you have to remember here at the San Antonio Zoo, they have everything provided for them, and they have round-the-clock, 24/7 veterinary care. And their issues that they might come up with in their life are going to be way different than a dog or a cat. So no, we would not suggest that they would be pets, much less make great pets. They're better left to be on ambassador teams so that we can bring them out for the public and talk about them and have cool guest interactions. And when the zoo opens back up, I promise you our ambassador team will be out in full force and you will have a chance to meet one of our amazing three-banded armadillos. You see? I'm sorry. We're just laughing at Wilson because he is just feeling himself this morning, and he has got the Easter spirit in him. He's looking for those eggs, hoping to find the one that's got all that money in. That, yeah. That worm money. That's a great question. How long does it take for them to get into a ball? I mean, it's instant. If we could show you, I'm not sure if that's something, well, yeah, we've got one in hand right now, but I can show you just with Wilson. He might not, however, as I mentioned before, he likes to be touched and handled and picked up, so he wants to be, when I will show you. But it's a very quick thing. When they're, these guard hairs pick up anything that they need to be worried about. Like I said before, Wilson enjoys being touched and petted, so he's eagerly looking for it. But it's a matter of seconds. What they do is they close up right here along the sides, and then they are rolled up into a ball instantly. For everyone just joining us, we are out here in the San Antonio Zoo on our Great Lawn area with a couple of our three-banded armadillos, letting them run around and enjoy some Easter enrichment on this beautiful Sunday morning.
Terry would like to know how old they are.
So I might have to defer. Yeah. I might have to ask for some help, a lifeline from my fellow keeper, Kara. Do you know their exact relative ages off the top of your head, Kara?
Greta, I would say, is in her mid-20s.
Okay, so Greta is in we're thinking probably estimated her mid-20s. They've been here at the San Antonio Zoo the majority of their life, so they have an estimated birth date. Addie is probably around, she's in her upper teens. And then I'm gonna ask my beautiful cameraman here if she knows how old Wilson is. 8 years old, so a beautiful, young, vibrant 8, which would explain his his interest in pretty much everything this morning. Great question.
Tiffany would like to know how we pick their names.
I love that question. So Tiffany, thank you for wondering how we pick the names for our animals. So as I mentioned before, although Wilson did just recently join us, he was born at a different institution. Greta and Addie, they have had those names since they came to the San Antonio Zoo. But typically what happens is we put it to a vote here in the department. And it's just a different bunch of names that we all kind of come up with, and then we start to see which one we feel fits their personality and that everyone likes using. Because you always have to remember, you're going to call these animals by their name. So, you know, you don't want to name something like, I don't know, what could be an interesting name you wouldn't want to repeat? Yeah, you know, Stinky or Sharky or, you know, Bitey or something like that, especially if you're going to bring them out on presentations. So we try to pick names that are cute and fun and relatable, and that's how they, most of the time, how they get their name, or that they mean something. A lot of animals here at the San Antonio Zoo have names that are in the, that are native, what am I trying to say? That are native to like the areas where they're normally found.
Wilson was named after the ball from Castaway.
There you go. So my cameraman let me know that Wilson was named after the ball in Castaway. And that's as simple as something like that.
Can you tell us again what they eat?
Absolutely. So the 3-banded armadillos get a variety of different food. Their main staple is going to be an insectivore pellet, and what that is ground up bug parts and all the necessary vitamins and nutrients and minerals that they would need for their digestive tract. They also get bugs. They get mealworms, waxworms, which is just a fattier mealworm, crickets, all things like that. And then they get a rotated balance of fruits and veggies. They get corn and peas. They get melon and apples. They get lettuce and kale. Eggs, yes, eggs. They love their hard-boiled eggs. And they get that rotated every day on a daily basis.
Do they only roll up into a ball if they're scared?
Typically, that's going to be the one reason they do it. However, it is also something that's comfortable for them. Kind of like how we sit on a couch and we just kind of hang out and just relax. It's the same thing for the armadillos. If they're feeling like they kind of want to take a little nap, that's how they sleep actually. Or if they just want to relax, yeah, that ball is going to be the most comfortable position for them. That's a great question. So there are about 20 species of armadillo, and there are the 3-banded that we're looking at right now. We actually have a 6-banded that's found in South America as well, and then the 9-banded that everyone knows that a lot of people are familiar with here in Texas, and that is the only North American species of armadillo. The other 19 species are typically going to be found in South America and Central America.
And here's a great example of a non-stressed.
Correct, right. So the earlier question was, do they only roll into a ball when they are threatened? And this is a perfect example of the complete opposite. So who we have here is Greta, and she's just kind of hanging out. She's relaxed. She's comfortable with keeper Kara. She is kind of sleepy, I imagine, so she's probably dozing while she doesn't have to do much work. So Kara's going to carry her around, and she feels completely at ease, no stress, very comfortable, rolled up into that little ball. All right, good morning, Megan. That is a great question. So these 3-banded armadillos are part of our ambassador program. So they are not currently out on an exhibit. They are in an area that we need to access at any point because we have to take them out on presentations, we take them to schools, we take them to events, all kinds of things like that. We bring them out on a Sunday morning for a fun Facebook Live, and it's much easier for us to have them in an area where we can get to them quickly and keep a close eye on them because they are part of that ambassador program, and it allows us to be able to come in and out and grab them as we need and not really affect anything that's out on exhibit for guests to see. However, because we have about 5 in our collection, we usually bring them out typically for most of the events that we do. So as I mentioned before, once the San Antonio Zoo is back open and we are back to normal, we will start seeing more of our ambassador animals out, and I can promise you that there will be an armadillo more often than not.
Sherry would like to know if they like water and if they can swim.
So the question is if armadillos, well, if the 3-banded armadillos like water and if they can swim. They don't hate water. They would not typically be found swimming or hanging out near large bodies of water. However, they do occasionally get little pools of water, as I mentioned before, as enrichment, and they will jump in there and kind of splash around, but it has to be very shallow because as small as they are, you can see that they could probably stand in some water and it would easily go over their head. So the animal care specialists have to be very mindful of that sort of kind of enrichment. However, we used to have some 6-banded armadillos and even the 9-banded as well. They love water, and you could see them jumping in all kinds of pools and water and splashing around and all things like that. We do have 9-bandeds on exhibit right now at the San Antonio Zoo, and they're down in our Tiny Tots area with our sloths. But as I said earlier, the 3, oh yeah, right, we will be doing a talk about them next week. And but as I mentioned before, the 3-bandeds are part of our ambassador program.
Crystal would like to know if there's a 1-to-1 ratio of keeper to armadillo.
Currently, there is not a 1-to-1 ratio of keeper to armadillo.
Right now there is.
Well, yes, but Kara is carrying one in hand. So yes, technically I am watching one of the, but right now we do have them just kind of keeping an eye on them from a nice safe distance and letting them run around and do as they please, as Wilson is giving us a fantastic example of. Yes, actually. So the question is if these 3-bandeds burrow holes into the ground. That's normally where they're going to spend a majority of their time if they're not out scavenging or looking for food. Those front claws that you can see them walking around on are very, very strong, and they use those to dig holes, little burrows for them to live in, but also to dig up any bugs and snacks that they might be looking for.
I have 2 coinciding questions.
Alrighty. Alrighty, so the first question is if they ever play or hang out with each other. And like most animals in the animal kingdom, which I feel a lot of people are surprised about, the 3-banded armadillo are solitary. So it would not be natural or normal to see them running around in more than one capacity. So no, they do not have any friends or anything that they interact with. They are closely housed together so they can smell and see each other. However, we do not put them together because it would not be something that they would normally do outside of maybe breeding season or mating season. Most animals come together during that time, do what they need to do, and then they go their separate ways. And then the other question was, I'm sorry, Kat, could you repeat it?
If they interact with other species.
Right, okay, yes. If our 3-bandeds interact with other species, other animals in the San Antonio Zoo. Well, the great thing about being the part of the ambassador program is that we get to bring our animals out and introduce them to all the different animals that we have around the zoo. So we can bring an armadillo out and maybe take it down to our Tamandua exhibit, and through the glass, both animals can see each other. However, besides us being in control of a situation like that, no, they would normally not be put in an area with another animal. Just as I said before, they wouldn't typically be and we're usually in control of any situation where they might meet another animal of a different species. We have birds in the same area where we have access to our 3-bandeds, and we could bring one of the 3-bandeds out if we wanted and show it to the bird, and that's fun little enrichment for everybody. Something different, something novel, and just a fun interaction between them, but again, completely controlled by the animal care specialists.
All right, Crystal would like to know, how does an animal become an ambassador animal?
that is a great question. So the question is, how does an animal become an ambassador animal? And the answer is really simple. I'll try my best to explain it. So every animal in the San Antonio Zoo is an ambassador animal. I know I'm using that term loosely, but every animal that we have here on the San Antonio Zoo, that we have on display, that we have on exhibit, that all our animal care specialists get to talk about and we get to post about on Facebook Live, they're all ambassadors. And what that means is they represent their species here at the San Antonio Zoo, and that allows people to come and meet them, learn about them, find out how much and how incredible they are, and all the important information that comes with coming and visiting your local zoo. The ambassador part loosely means that they are mobile. They get to come out and meet people, and people can touch them and get really, really up close and, you know, find that new love and passion for animals that we get to provide here at the San Antonio Zoo through our ambassador collection. So really, really great question. Just remember, any animal that you visit in a zoo, that's an ambassador for their species. They're representing their species. They're here to tell you about themselves and all their relatives and just how important it is to keep them around, and just how important it is for people to visit the zoo and come and learn about these animals any other way.
A few people are asking if they are pregnant for 9 months, so can you tell us what their gestation period is?
Sure. All right, so the question is whether or not the three-banded armadillos, when they are pregnant, if they're pregnant for 9 months. That is a great question. Now, I know that's a time frame that we're used to humans. However, due to the size of an animal, you can typically adjust that. So for three-banded, about 120 days that their gestation period is. And that's just because it's a lot smaller. Everything going on in there is on a much smaller basis. So it's a little bit quicker process to kind of make that baby armadillo, get it to full term. Question. Yeah, that seems to be a favorite question this morning. So some of the food that these armadillos eat, again, these are three-banded armadillos, is their main diet is going to be made of an insectivore pellet. And what that is all different kinds of bug parts kind of rolled into a kibble with vitamins and nutrients and minerals mixed in. So just like the food that your dog or cat gets, it's formulated for armadillos. And then on top of that, they get different bugs, they get produce, corn, peas, melons, lettuce, kale, hard-boiled eggs, all of that. And they get that on a daily basis that we rotate here at the zoo to give them variety from any given day. All right, everybody, if there's any last-minute questions, go ahead and drop them down below, please. And enjoy a nice little chase we've got going with Wilson and our animal care specialist, Sam.
What are armadillos related to?
That is another fantastic question. So the question is, what are armadillos related to? You know what? I cannot answer that right off the top of my head, so let me get back to you in just a couple seconds. However, as I mentioned earlier in the chat, they are mammals. A lot of people are always curious about that because they don't exactly resemble mammals the way we're used to. But yes, they are part of the mammals family. As I said, they give live birth, they are warm-blooded, they nurse their offspring with milk, all those important things that make a mammal. They breathe air. So the question is, do the patterns on their head all stay the same? Another question I can't really answer with correct information and be accurate with it. I'm sure it changes from individual to individual, but as they are born and grow, it is specific to them. So it's kind of like a fingerprint. So Addie right here, her pattern is only going to be her pattern. If you take a look at Greta, it might not look significantly different, but it's going to be different in a way that is just for Greta. Same thing with Wilson. So the way we have fingerprints is the same way that the patterns and the shape of their scales are for armadillos. So the question was what the armadillo looks like from the back. And it's going to be the most uniform, let me see if I can't bring her back. It's going to be the most uniform collection of their scales. And pretty much like I said, it's just a bunch of little fingernails the way we think of it because it's made of keratin, all lined up to form that carapace on her back. So you can see how it's just kind of lined up and stacked on each other to make a really nice, tight-fitting kind of shell to keep her protected on the top.
Is this good exercise and enrichment for them to come out?
So someone was wondering whether this was good exercise and enrichment for them when we bring them out, and the answer is absolutely 100% yes. Also, the armadillos get a lot from it too. So our animal care specialists get to come out and run around as you saw before, but absolutely yes. So this is just one of those things, as I mentioned earlier, that's novel for them, right? So it's not normal for them to be out here every day. So all the smells and all the feelings and everything they're sensing, it's different. So that's enriching. That stimulates them mentally, physically. It gets them thinking all kinds of different ways. And yes, this is 100% one of the greatest enrichment that we can give them. And they enjoy very, very much. So we had a question earlier, which was what armadillos are related to. Also, you got something, you're dragging something back there. And the answer is that they are related to sloths and anteaters. They are most closely related to your sloths and your anteaters, which if you look at them, you can kind of see the resemblance. And shout out to, what's that name? Sarah Escobedo. Yes, she answered it perfectly. And you know, it's almost like she has all these facts just stowed away. But yes, they are correctly related to sloths and anteaters.
I have a question. Does Sarah work here?
You know, I don't know. I don't think I've ever seen Sarah. She might not be part of the animal ambassador team or Mammals One, but what do I know? I'm just the senior and animal care specialist of that area. So I'll get back to you on that question, Kat. Great question.
Thanks, Sarah. Happy Easter.
Thank you, Sarah. Always there when I need you.
Do they make noise?
The question is, do the armadillos make noise? Another one that I don't really want to give a false answer to, but as far as I know, I don't think they make something like what we think of like a dog or a cat. They probably have their own vocalizations that they use with one another. However, the animal care specialists have never heard them make a noise, at least loud enough, for us to be like, oh yeah, that's the three-banded armadillo, no big deal. All right.
Are we sure that Wilson is not just a wind-up toy?
Are we sure that Wilson is not just a wind-up toy? I'm pretty sure he might just be your typical 8-year-old just trying to get into everything and knock things over and just have a good time. But my bet might be, you know, if we got a good look underneath, there might be some kind of wind-up that would help that would help him going on his little fast-paced runs that he's doing right now. Sure, all right. So again, happy Sunday, happy Easter to everyone that joined us here at the San Antonio Zoo. He tripped. Here for our morning Facebook Live, we brought out 3 of our 3-banded armadillos, normally found in South America, for a little Easter fun and enrichment. We had some baskets and some food and some grass and some eggs laid out, and we let them dig around and have some fun and just kind of come out and enjoy just a little bit of the festivities that we would normally be having on an Easter Sunday. However, you know, due to social distancing and some of the things that are kind of limiting us right now, we're going to let them do that and hopefully try and live vicariously through them today. But I want to thank everybody for joining us. We really appreciate everyone tuning in and asking questions and just being super involved with these Facebook Lives. As much as everyone at home enjoys it, the care specialists here love doing it. We love being able to talk about our jobs, our animals, and provide just a little escape for everyone at home, kind of dealing with all the things that everyone here is dealing with. So just thank you so much, and continue to please keep tuning in. As I mentioned earlier, we do have a 2 o'clock chat that we're going to do, and I know it's difficult for everybody right now, but if you do have the opportunity to donate to our funds, please do. I think right now we might be out of the Easter baskets because it's Easter today. However, anything that you can spare for our emergency fund, it goes straight into the San Antonio Zoo, and it helps feed our animals and our special guys just like Addie here. So thank you for sticking around, listening to me, hanging out, and hope you enjoy the rest of your day. And don't forget to come back at 2 p.m. and hang out with us again.